I'll give now the floor to my friend, Manlio Di Stefano, Undersecretary of State from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Italy.
Thank you, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I wish to thank Mr. Minister Christodoulides for his outstanding contribution to this event. In the decades following the Second World War, numerous conventions and resolutions have been adopted, mainly within the United Nations framework, with the aim to protect cultural heritage against all forms of attacks and threat, and to address the connection between the destruction of cultural heritage, trafficking in cultural properties, organized crime, and in more recent times, financing of terrorism. Already 1 year before the adoption of the milestone 1970 UNESCO Convention, Italy had established the first ever specialized national law enforcement unit, the worldwide known Carabinieri TCP, fully dedicated to the fight against illegal exploitation of cultural heritage in all its forms. This example has been followed by other countries, and the group of friends will count on the experience and commitment of our Carabinieri. In addition to the efforts of UNESCO, UNIDROIT, and other dedicated bodies, in 2015, Italy and Jordan, together with Interpol, UNESCO, and UNODOC, embarked in New York on a high-level partnership that intended to galvanize the international community and the United Nations to implement existing legal instruments and to take stronger and more coordinated actions against growing threats to cultural property and heritage. As a result of this joint effort, a list of suggested key actions was presented at the opening week of the UNGA 72nd session. These actions are based on the partnership's outcomes, on the comprehensive guidelines adopted to support the implementation of the 1970 UNESCO Convention and the UN Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, and on the priorities identified by experts working in the field. These guidelines have now been subsequently enriched by the work of the UN Security Council 1267 Committee Monitoring Team. In the same spirit, Italy co-sponsored several resolutions in the context of UNESCO, intending to make a concrete contribution to the identification of effective and operational mechanisms to enhance the action of the organization in protecting heritage and cultural pluralism. In the meantime, Italy also supported the UNESCO and its effort to include the protection of cultural heritage in the tasks of the UN Security Council peace missions, in the belief that the safeguarding cultural identities and diversity is an essential instrument for the promotion of human values, as well as for encouraging dialogue and fostering peace building. We immediately joined the Unite for Heritage campaign, and we were the first to establish a national dedicated task force presented at the UN on 18 October 2017. The fight against illicit trafficking of cultural goods, which provides financial resources to terrorists and organized criminal groups, is also a main priority for Italy. We will continue working in order to foster international cooperation in this domain, particularly in the context of the Counter-ISIL France Group. In this framework, in March 2017, Italy hosted in Florence the first ever G7 on culture. The final declaration signed by the ministers reaffirms the need to adopt concrete measures for the protection of cultural heritage against all threats and emphasize the role of culture as a driver of sustainability, as well as its contribution to international dialogue and cooperation. The aforementioned premises have laid the foundation for the historical UN Security Council Resolution 2347 on maintenance of international peace and security, destruction and trafficking on cultural heritage by terrorist groups in situations of armed conflict. Promoted by the delegation of France and Italy and unanimously adopted by the Security Council in March 2017, the resolution constitutes a milestone in the coordinated effort of the international community to combat the financing of terrorism and to address the serious threats to peace and security in connection with destruction and trafficking and the multiple forms of aggression against cultural heritage. Finally, let me underline that Resolution 2347 complements the wide legal framework already in force. Cyprus and Italy sustain that the implementation of existing legal instruments should now be a priority, and this can be based on public awareness and political will, as well as on coordinated steps at different levels. And this is exactly the agenda that the Group of Friends for the Protection of Cultural Heritage decided to adopt in April 2018, convinced that a step-by-step policy could produce important results even in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you, Manlio, for your intervention. And once again, thank you for the excellent cooperation in forming this very important group.